On this episode of the Turnbuckle Thanksgiving edition, Kenny Omega tells CM Punk fans to let it go, Thunder Rosa relinquishes the AEW Women's World Championship, and Scorpio Sky is cleared to wrestle. Folks, it's time to hit a turkey leg drop into some wrestling news because it's time for the Turnbuckle. Ahead of the AEW Dynamite from Punk's hometown of Chicago, Omega spoke with SI.com and noted that he is unable to address speculation stemming from the backstage altercation at All Out 2022. He also encouraged fans to, quote, move away from it because there's no information to be released. There are things no one can talk about, so I'd encourage people to let it go, says Omega. It doesn't change that we want a team effort in AEW. I don't even mean implicity, it's myself and my opponent. It also means the referee, the fans, the people who set up the ring, everyone, even a technical error can ruin the memory of a match. I can refer back to the exploding barbed wire death match, so I encourage people to move away from it because there's no information to be released. Though I cannot talk about it, I do want the fans to know I still want the best for pro wrestling. This isn't Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks against CM Punk, Omega continued. It is people trying to show off their craft. You can boo Kenny Omega or the Young Bucks or CM Punk, but I hope people don't forget we're human beings struggling to show our art. Omega also spoke about returning to NJPW to face Will Ospreay at Wrestle Kingdom 17. I'm returning to New Japan as an ambassador of AEW, says Omega. I'm returning to New Japan as an ambassador of pro wrestling. I'm also returning home. I left to start this new exciting opportunity, but it's still home. Now the things Will can do are things I cannot. He's an athletic phenom, but as finely tuned as he is physically, he still doesn't have the knowledge or experience. I pushed my own physical boundaries in All Japan and DDT, but that's not what I'm known for. My mind is my greatest asset, not athleticism. That's what's allowed Hiroshi Tanahashi to have such a long and flavorful career. I needed someone to take my place in New Japan. I wanted someone to take my place, and it was Will, Jay White, and Kota Ibushi. Will is the only one to have a problem with that. So Kenny Omega is basically saying, like, guys, okay, let it go, relax, all right? But if anybody actually saw Dynamite yesterday at the time of this recording, you'll know that that is pretty contradictory considering what he was doing in the ring. That has made a lot of people upset. A lot of people, way before this whole match even happened, were upset at the Young Bucks just because of how CM Punk himself got treated in this whole ordeal. A lot of people sided with CM Punk in the sense of like, oh, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega are children and they don't know what they're doing and yada yada. They didn't help themselves yesterday, all right? You could argue that what they were doing yesterday was mind games, and I'm not gonna lie, when I saw it, I popped for it. I was for it. Just because I already had a feeling that the Chicago crowd weren't gonna be nice. You know what I mean? But I will say this, they didn't really hijack the show. From what I saw, they didn't really hijack the show. They reacted well to the Regal promo and everything like that, and they only really got upset when it was Kenny Omega and the Bucks when they were on screen. That was pretty much it. You could argue that the Bucks easily could have just ignored the entire thing and not done the... I did like the spot where the one of the Bucks botched the Buck shot. I thought that was... But should I laugh at that? Should I be finding that funny? I don't actually know, to be fairly honest with you, given the circumstances and everything. So I don't know. I don't know where anybody should really stand on this, because I don't think that we should be giving CM Punk any type of leeway here, because at the end of the day, it is his fault. Okay, we're not just gonna sit here and say that, oh, CM Punk is the GOAT, and he is the GOAT, right, in ring. But this is more of a thing of like, he's a good wrestler, but as a person, he's not all that great. Okay, but also, it's not fair that the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega go on there and Kenny's biting Pac's arm, and the Bucks are Kenny's hitting it. Now that if Kenny had just done the GTS, then that'd be like, all right, that makes sense, right? But if it's the fact that the Bucks did it, and then everybody got upset because during the Bucks match, during the first match that Death Triangle and the Elite had, there were FCM Punk chants, and in BTE they like cut off the montage that they were doing to showcase that, and it's all over the place, to be totally honest with you. It's all over the place. It really matters on who you stand with, right? Like, if you like CM Punk, then you don't like the Bucks and you don't like what they did. If you like the Elite, then you thought that what the Bucks did was perfectly fine and there's no issue. I'm not your dad. I'm not going to tell you who to side for, all right? That is your own opinion based off of your own beliefs, yada, yada. All I'm saying is I will side with the people who are like, Kenny, you can't tell everybody to let it go and then do stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's as if it's like a manager firing someone and then going, guys, don't worry about him, let it go. And then going, oh, where's so-and-so? Why isn't so-and-so here? You know what I mean? So it's I understand where everybody's coming from. Next, we're going to talk about Scorpio Sky and how he was cleared after the knee injury he suffered. Sky had suffered a knee injury prior to his street fight against Wardlow in the July 6th edition of AEW Dynamite, where he dropped the TNT title. Sky remained absent from AEW television since then. According to Fightful Select, Scorpio Sky has been cleared to wrestle for, quote, quite some time now, and is ready to make his return to the squared circle whenever AEW has something planned for him. It was also reported that Sky was at another episode of Dynamite over the summer and filmed content, but that content never aired in the end. We'll have to wait and see what AEW will have planned for Sky once he returns. This is another one of those things where I feel like I should have probably known that Sky was injured, and I feel like at some point I did talk about this, but it's been so long and so much has happened, and like we've been through like so much in terms of like wrestling news and stuff, that it just sort of accidentally just fell by the wayside, like the whole thing with like Reggie and stuff. Like, I have a feeling I'm probably going to forget R-Truth is injured to be well, I'm probably not. I'm glad that he's really now, like, he's all right. There's nothing wrong with him. Everything's fine. He's really just waiting. At this point in time, given how wrestling is nowadays, hopefully when he comes back, it'll actually be a story that's like worthwhile, and it won't just be a story that he's just sort of, hopefully he won't be like QT Marshall, because QT Marshall is just one of those guys who comes in specifically to lose, specifically. All right, I know what I said at the beginning of the episode, right, and how I was going to talk about AEW relinquishing the Women's World Championship from Thunder Rosa. That is big news. It is. According to Dave Meltzer, Tony Khan announced that Toni Storm is also going to be recognized as the women's champion as well. So thank God that interim nonsense is finally done with. That's pretty much all I had to really say about it. I'm just glad that they finally talked about it. What I really want to talk about is something, I'm not going to lie, is way more interesting, okay? And it's about how the NXT scripts gimmick, you know, the skips gimmick that Reggie has, apparently that's based off of a real person that WWE has had to deal with. The WWE Performance Center stalker has been arrested several times for trespassing on WWE property. Armando Alejandro Montalvo routinely sneaked onto the facility, where he smeared his poo on the walls and was even shot in the stomach by an Orange County police officer for his troubles years ago. Montalvo is renowned for making multiple headlines for doing crazy stuff on WWE premises, like appearing randomly while asking for a job as well. This was a nightmare when the company was trying to film television during the pandemic era. While speaking of Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer revealed that Scripps' gimmick on WWE NXT this week was actually inspired by Montalvo. So apparently, there has been a stalker who has smeared his poo on the walls. Can you imagine? First of all, can you imagine Montalvo coming into the Performance Center or like smearing his poo dressed as Reggie, dressed how Reggie is dressed? And can you imagine Reggie or Scripps smearing his poo on the wall of the Performance Center and writing out scripts and then coming? Can you imagine that being a gimmick? That wrestling is crazy, man. It is absolutely unhinged, man. This shit is crazy as hell. I feel as though that I probably should have talked about Thunder Rosa a little bit more, but the fact that there was a man stalking the Performance Center and WWE decided to turn it into a gimmick, and this guy was smearing his poo on the wall, and WWE went, I mean, they gotta wrestle, gotta put him in the ring. What do we talk about? Kenny Omega wants the CM Punk fans to let it go, which is just rich, all right? It's absolutely fantastic. Scorpio Sky is cleared for an in-ring return, so we just gotta wait to see when that's gonna be. I'm excited to see him back, you know. AEW made Thunder Rosa relinquish the World Championship, which is great. That's what you want to hear. You could argue they could have done that a lot earlier, but the fact that they did it at all, and the fact that they recognized Toni Storm, it's the fact that they took the interim thing off of Toni Storm. That's what you want to hear, all right? That's a good thing. And man, they based some random crazy poo smearing stalker off of an actual gimmick. No, they based a gimmick off of a poo smearing stalker. Wrestling is absolutely crazy as hell, boys, all right? Hopefully everybody enjoyed this episode, all right? Hopefully everybody has a wonderful tonight, a wonderful Thanksgiving, and a wonderful tomorrow. And as always, big hugs all around.